Hello everyone. Today we have with us Gita Ramaswamy, writer, publisher and activist, and someone who has spent her life questioning the power. And she has been best known for her work with Hyderabad Book Trust, which has brought about more than 500 titles since 1980. In her early years, she was part of Marxist-Leninist movement in Telangana and even went underground during the emergency in Ghaziabad. Later, she worked with Dalit communities in Ibrahimpattanam, helping them fight against bonded labor and landlessness. Cyril Reddy, her partner, also was in the movement and he supported her in her social activism till the end of his life. Born into a Brahmin family, she chose a life of questioning and resistance, a rebel at home, in politics and on the streets. She has faced expulsion, hardships and attacks and yet continue her life with courage, conviction and clarity. She is now in Kerala for the birth centenary celebrations of Ma Mandagini Narayanan. Let's hear from her about her remarkable journey as an activist, writer, publisher and a witness to the India's social and economic transformation. Welcome, ma'am. In Land, Guns, Caste, Women, you have written your fascination towards English literature and science as a force of liberation. And now let's come to your days, college days. In Usmani University, it seems, especially after the killing of George Reddy, it was a turning point in your life. I would like to know how that incident became a political awakening in your life.
You see, George was very important in organizing students in the university towards, for example, the Vietnam War, the Naxalite revolt. These were issues which inspired George, and so he formed a group of students around him. And because that came into natural conflict with the ABVP at that time, it was ABVP, there were clashes and finally they killed him. Before he died, he did not have such a strong organization. He had friends and close. But after his death catalyzed a kind of, and I think that's what being a martyr does. The others said, now we must take up his job. And my husband, who was not political so much before.
Cyril George.
Yeah, George's brother. He went full time into the movement to, I think it is in the death of someone makes many people, some people run away because they are afraid, but many people stay behind and say, let us fulfill what this dead person wanted to do. So this is a very strong movement in campus. And I was one of the early feminists. So this group was the only group which was respectful to me. Otherwise, the feminists at that time were not, everybody made fun of you. This group did not make fun, so I was attracted to them. They spoke about Marxism, they spoke about poverty, inequality. These are issues I did not know anything about. So when I visited villages along with them, I said, yes, this is a good thing. It encompasses even my feminism, it encompasses. So that is how I joined, and it was a great movement when so many students are working together. It is like we are a clan, we are a strong clan, we will die for each other. And we were all idealistic. We were all giving up our studies, willing to go here, there, do anything. So that was the milestone in my life.
Of course, the 70s were the years of rebellion, dreams, and people want to have a different world order. So what drew you towards Marxism? So were you aware of the ideology, or it was just an inspiration to join this group?
No. You see, as I explained, I was a feminist. I strongly felt that women are oppressed because my own family experience. And I said, I will not, now be controlled by any man, and I will work to see all women whom I know, which is very small circle.
Yeah.
We all sort of form a group and we fight against these the obvious forms of discrimination which is there, like say there was sexual harassment on campus,
Yeah.
there were obscene posters, dowry, these are the things we took up. And because the Marxists were, the George Reddy group was sympathetic to us, I I learnt about the ideology, and basically it is one of social justice and equality. At that time, till you get into the party, you really don't study much. So the idea of social justice and equality is very attractive because you're already asking for justice, for gender justice. So to extend that to all groups is a very attractive idea.
So you started reading Marx literature and all after
Yes.
this, joined this group?
This group is the student group, not the party.
Yeah.
The student group, yes. We had so many reading sessions. At that time, you remember, you can sit up all night reading. One book you'll finish in a night. Yes, read a lot of Marxist literature.
And how you got the link towards Naxalite groups or Marxist-Leninist group?
See, at that time, 1971, Naxalite groups were active. There were three groups. One was the Charu Mazumdar group, the other was the Satyanarayana Singh Chandrapula Reddy group, and the third was the Nagareddy group. They were active, if not openly, they were active in contacting students. So they one group contacted this George Reddy's band of students after he died. And these people felt that yes, if we joined with them, it is of use. So all of us joined the party. We joined together.
And once you joined the Marxist-Leninist movement, you were not just a silent follower, because in Kodesharama's autobiographical book, in introduction, you have written that the history of left organizations is the history of upper caste men's domination. So maybe you must have some conflict with the organization as well. So was it the statement based on your experience in the movement?
Yes, yes, certainly. If not my personal experience, because I am very forthright and aggressive. It's very difficult for a man to push me into subordinate position. I've always been aggressive. But when I watched with other people, I found this and I said, why do women put up with it? But women put up with it because the ideology of domination which is outside in society is present in the party. The wife of the party leader is a comrade, but she will cook the food, bring the food, put it in front of him, serve him, and after he washes his hand in the plate, she will take it and wash him. She'll keep the bath water. She will give him a bath. It's never vice versa. So what is all this kind of servitude inside the party?
And also the lower caste women and people were pushed to the margins, and they were given some special work which men do not do.
Lower caste people, men and women, were pushed to the margins. It was not even recognized. Caste was not recognized. And in fact, it was recognized in such a bad way, they will introduce someone, this is a Harijan comrade. I can't imagine anything more insulting than that. Not that he is a comrade, he is a Harijan comrade. The term Harijan itself is like so despicable. And to use a word like Harijan comrade, they gave permission for starting a women's wing. We started Progressive Organization of Women, I think one of the first women's organizations in India. They did not give permission to start a Dalit students' wing.
So is the time that you recognized caste also is an important issue in Indian society?
No, I was as blind as anyone else. I do not even see. See, the thing is, it is not visible to you. We make ourselves so much that caste is invisible to us. Caste was not visible to me till...
So how did you respond to this kind of situation? So while it was women and the backward class people were marginalized in the movement, they were treated differently. So what was your response? Did you try to discuss it in the party?
Yeah, yeah. When you try to discuss, they said this is not a debating society, this is armed struggle. So you cannot debate all these things. You must be like the people in the forest areas. When we tell them to get up, they get up. When we tell them to sit down, they sit down. You mustn't open your mouth and talk. So that was the height of it, when if you are not supposed to discuss, and if there is no discussion on important issues.
So you have written also that due to democratic centralization, there was no openness, there was no transparency, and there was every chance of debate and discussion was stifled.
Yes.
Right. So what was the discussion happening then?
See, it was also emergency had come. Emergency was a very great learning experience for us. Till emergency, we were expanding. We had lot of the movement was strong. Once emergency came, we saw that the ground under our feet was hollow. People are not giving us shelter. People were saying, please leave. Our shelters were getting raided. Our comrades were getting arrested, killed. And if we are so one with the people, if the movement is strong, why will this happen? If the movement is strong, people will protect us. People will shelter us. People will say, doesn't matter, you stay with us, you continue to work. Why are people telling us to go away? So then the idea came that, what they have been saying, or what we are seeing as a strong movement is only from the outside.
There was no mass participation and involvement.
No, there was no mass participation. And which meant that when we said, see, the repression came so strongly because we say armed struggle.
Yeah.
So when you say armed struggle, you're telling the state, come, challenging you. So the state with all its might is trying to crush you. You're not prepared for the crushing. Then why do you give such a slogan? When you're not prepared to take the consequences, why do you give the slogan? Why are you sacrificing so many young people? So many young people dying.
Was these questions there in the minds of people who were part of the movement?
Yes, that was one of the major points which I made when I left. Why are we making these slogans when you're not ready to face it?
During the emergency, you went underground
Yeah.
in Ghaziabad. You were working with some Dalit
That's
communities there later. So, and you took a decision to leave the movement.
Yeah.
So, was there any special reason to take such a difficult decision?
Yes, because they would not allow debate, discussion. Then they started cutting. See, what happens when somebody differs in any of these parties is that petty politics takes over. First, they will cut funds. They will not allow people to meet you. Then they will start rumor mongering that so-and-so is renegade, so-and-so is traitor. So all this is so hurtful. You say, what is the point staying? No? When that comradely spirit is gone, and when any difference is seen as some kind of display of renegade ideology, you don't feel like staying.
So, being born to a Brahmin family, educated, and from an urban background, did you get any special treatment, or did you get any upper hand in the group?
I think so. Certainly, no. Certainly, being not Brahmin so much as upper caste, as Savarna, as being English speaking, as being educated. These are all points which you win. These win you brownie points anywhere. In a conference, you go somewhere. If you are English speaking, if you are upper caste, certainly you get brownie points. So also in the party.
So when a progressive movement is led by upper caste or educated, so-called educated people, especially men, so if there is no attempt to understand for whom they are struggling, especially for the oppressed, the downtrodden, marginalized, lower class, so how they can become the voice for them?
They can't become. They can't become because caste, they are blind to caste. They are blind to caste, they are blind to gender, they are blind to diversity. For them, a world is as they see it. And for them, it is the poor are they, we are leaders. We lay down the ideology, we lay down how we should do, the poor will follow us. So there is no concept of declassifying, decasting, there is no concept.
Okay, let's come to what's happening now. when the Operation Kagar unfolding, we find that the state government is taking this as an opportunity to devastate the tribal communities, especially in places like Bastar. And the state is not utilizing an opportunity to have a dialogue with the Maoists. And also, it's an opportunity to clear the ground, to hand over the resources for natural resources for the corporates. So, how do you see this situation now?
It is not the state government, this time it's the central government which has taken.
Yes.
But it is not a new situation in the sense that from the last so many decades, the state has been trying to suppress all Maoist movements. It
Yeah.
is not new.
Yeah,
This
even
happened in Andhra
Operation
Pradesh.
Green Hunt was there.
Yes, and even earlier in Telangana, there was very violent repression.
Yeah.
So much so that the Naxalites had to leave the area and go. So, the question which should come in front of activists is that if you are not able to face the repression which is going to come, do you take up such actions that will invite that repression? Now, what they justify is whenever we start any work, the government tries to repress us, so we take to arms. Now, history the world over has shown that so many movements without taking to arms have also done a lot of great work. In fact, all of Ambedkar's work is non-violent. Not that Ambedkar supported non-violent as ahimsa as a philosophy, but all his work was towards constitution, towards making space within the constitution. And you have an example in your own country where someone has achieved so much change now after so many decades after independence. Who is remembered among people? Is it Ambedkar or is it the Maoists? No, really, I would like to ask the question. Who is respected more among the poorest of the people? Is it Ambedkar or the Marxist?
Of course, the Ambedkar.
So then the Maoists have to learn that there are other forms of struggle, there are other forms that one should explore and involve oneself instead of saying, armed struggle, I will defeat the state with armed struggle. There are such wonderful people who are going into the movement. The people who have now been killed in Operation Kagar, some of them are the best human beings I've seen. If those human beings who are, just massacred mindlessly, if they could come out and work in Ambedkar's path, how much change would there be there? I feel such a waste of human resource.
But on the other side, shouldn't we also see that the state is utilizing this opportunity to eliminate,
Yes.
especially the tribal people, tribal community, to
Yes.
attack them, and without any kind of negotiation with, and also, shouldn't we also see that Maoists, though they are violent, though there are a lot of issues inside the organization, it is creating some kind of barrier to the government attempt to hand over the natural resources from the community to the corporates.
I don't think so. I don't agree with you there.
So don't.
If you ask me, the first Niyamgiri struggle was successful. They stopped Vedanta from mining there.
Yeah.
That was led by, not the Maoists, led by non-violent activists. The POSCO, opposition to POSCO was again first was not by the Maoists. There are many areas where quietly work has gone on and there's been opposition to this. Why are we only giving Maoists the credit for stopping things? Maoists, if you ask me, also stopped schools from being built. They stopped roads from being built because they did not want any communication into the forest. So much of work with so much what Adivasis needed. Adivasis also need schools, they need hospitals as much as we do. Why did the Maoists stop all that? So to give them only the credit for stopping government's efforts to hand over corporate mining is not right. Not that the government in India has been doing taking up so many anti-people steps. One of the last preserves is the forest.
Yeah.
And if we don't have a program to oppose the kind of development that the government is bringing in, we will fail even in the forests.
And just for a clarification, so we have a great example of Narmada Bachao Andolan.
Yes.
It is a mass movement against huge developments, especially dams.
Yes.
And years and years, when we
Yes.
look back, we find that ultimately they could create an awareness about
Yes.
development,
Yes.
how it is destructive,
Yes.
how it is, there is a limit for extraction of natural resources. At the same time, a systemic change or in the policy level, drastic change
Yes.
could not be brought out by this non-violent movement. So don't you see that we have a limitation for non-violent movement as well now?
Do you think a drastic change was brought out by the violent movement? No. What? So many years after Naxalbari, 75 years after, I don't know how many years that is, 67. That's more than half a century after Naxalbari. What has changed of violent movement? Nothing has changed. In Kerala, you were able to stop the Coca-Cola factory at Plachimada, weren't you? Wasn't
Yes.
that a non-violent movement?
Sure.
So there are so many Kudankulam nuclear thing, so many non-violent movements. I'm not saying that only non-violent movements will succeed. I'm saying explore that area. If you put your energies into that area too, we may not suffer so many losses, and we will get widespread support because we are not confronting the state with a gun right away.
And let me come
Yeah.
back to your experience during the emergency.
Yeah.
So during the emergency, you went underground in Ghaziabad near Delhi, and it was an opportunity for you to have connection with Valmiki community, and you
Yes.
stayed there and you spent some time for education, their children. So was it the time you become very much aware of the caste discrimination and how important is Ambedkar? So was it an eye-opening experience
No,
for you?
and even then I was blind.
Okay.
It's very surprising. I related to them as the poorest of the poor people.
Okay.
But I never asked why they have to do this scavenging, why they have to clean the shit in the railway station. So I was blind even then.
So that's why maybe you were surprised when children or parents ask you to educate the provide English education for them, right? So maybe you were expecting some kind of other response from
Yes.
them, right?
Yes.
So anyway, because you were staying with the family as well.
Yes.
So maybe could you explain how the experience in being connected with the daily life of a marginalized community, how it gave insights into you?
See, first you learn about yourself. What are the limits to myself? How much can I stretch myself? How much can I appreciate their lives and what they are doing? That is one thing. Mainly, it is about learning about oneself. About themselves, they are very open. They are very open people. So once they accept you, they take you into their hearts. They will do anything for you. So then, once their love grows, the bonding between us grows. Yes, but mostly it is one's own learning experience. I have never ever before lived with a community, so it was the first experience for me.
Many left organizations still prioritize class over caste. And for Ambedkarites or the subaltern politics, sometimes they sideline the importance of fighting against capitalism. So, how do you see this divide and how bridging these this gap, how it is important in our struggle, in our present day struggle for equity and sustainability?
The problem is we compartmentalize all our movements, we compartmentalize ourselves. So Dalit movement will not work with this movement, that movement will not work with this movement, and every movement wants control over. The left movement wants control over everything. We must have Dalit wing, women's wing, we must not give them autonomy. So that kind of thing will not work. If the movements are not going to respect each other and work together, we will never be able to fight this. The enemy is far stronger than we are expecting now. So if you don't join together, we are not going to succeed.
And you are more connected with subaltern movements and subaltern politics now. So, do you think that Ambedkarite politics, subaltern politics, whatever we call, they do not consider dealing with capitalism is important? Is it being sidelined?
See, there is a stream among them which says we must even have Dalit. I think their understanding is that capitalism is there to stay. Now, the left has socialism, it's ideal. Now, whether socialism has succeeded anywhere, we don't. Still, it's a big question. The Dalits many people in the Dalit movement are taking for granted that capitalism is here to stay. So let us be part of capitalism. So there is a move for Dalit capitalism.
Okay.
There is a move that we must be part of the capital formation and the bourgeois, so that we can pull our own people. There is no rejection of capitalism, even though Ambedkar was very clear about socialism as the goal. Dalit movement today is not working towards that. But in a sense, who is working towards it? I am doubtful even if the left is working towards socialism. If you see the examples in Bengal and Kerala, I don't see how the governments are very much different than other governments in policies, in framing new policies than the earlier governments. So why are we saying that just because we give lip service to socialism that we are the socialists?
In Ibrahimpattanam, you are fighting against the feudal forces to liberate people from bonded labor and rights of landless people. And at the same time, as a person connected to Marxism, how in your mind the idea of fighting against capitalism was working inside you? Or was it a priority that time?
No, we had, my understanding was that we had failed in the party to learn from the people. We had failed in the party to formulate slogans based on what people wanted. So my only objective in working in Ibrahimpattanam was, what do people want? How can we fight in that direction? So effort was, it was not even capitalism, it was not anything as big as that. It was only what do people want and how do we channelize this desire of people towards a struggle against the old forms of oppression. We don't know. I was not clear capitalism, socialism. I was not clear about, I was willing to be open-minded about everything.
Maybe that's why you formed a farmers organization,
Agricultural Laborers Trade
agricultural
Union.
trade union, and you are very clear that you should not be part of NGO, and you're also very critical about charity, volunteer work, its limitation for systemic change. On the other hand, you also understood how we must work inside the system, utilizing the constitutional provisions and existing laws. So do you think that today, when you look back, do you think that the constitution values of equity, fraternity, freedom, all these, and as Ambedkar envisaged, we need political political freedom as well as social and economic liberation, right? So do you think that our constitution can provide, or there is an ample space for systemic change in the constitutional provisions?
There will be limitations, but yes, we have not explored those spaces fully. The movement haven't worked towards exploring all these spaces. We have to do that. And whether the constitution is a rigid framework, no. I'd say where you find the constitution doesn't work for you, work towards change of constitution. Nothing should be rigid, no. What is said, what Karl Marx said some 300 years ago need not be true today. You work according to what the situation is, work according to what people need. That is the need of the hour. Be flexible.
So how that flexibility will come from the existing democratic practice today in India?
If you expand the spaces, wherever you, now we are saying revolution will come. Once revolution will come, there will be no caste, there will be no gender, there will be equality. How is everything going to change in one day? Work from now. You are setting up a party, ensure caste and gender equality right in your party right now. Right now. And then in all your work that you're doing, you're sitting on this side of the fence. Say you are your road transport workers union. You're sitting on this side of the fence and opposing management. Suppose you are management tomorrow, you'll be management tomorrow. How will you deal with that issue? Think already that if you are going to be at one time on the other side of the fence, how are you going to move? So if we have all these options in mind, then we can make a framework which will last after the revolution. I'm saying make the revolution before revolution comes. In every step, make the change that you want to see.
So maybe that is your insight from your work in Ibrahimpattanam, where other than involving the leaders, you could realize the real lifeblood of a movement is people's
People.
participation, right? So now, other than the grand narratives like Marxism, you think that small organizations, community-based or grassroots level and decentralized power structure, that will bring change more than a grand narrative at larger level.
You need, no, I don't think so. The smaller groups um, may provide ideas, may provide space for experiments, but we have to be political. Without politics, we don't have vision. So we need to know what do we want to do, what kind of society do we need to build, what do we do now to build that society tomorrow. We need to have discussions, we need to have organizations. I'm not saying, I am also opposed to this democratic centralism idea. I don't think any party which is built on that principle can lead any movement. So we have to conceive of new forms of organization where people can join. But I think without being political, no, we will not get anywhere. We need to have smaller organizations, but we need to be political. Without political, we'll get burnt out.
You had a long experience with dealing with the issue of landlessness. So even today, it's a grave issue in Indian context. And we had efforts like Bhutan movement and different states had land reform acts. In spite of all these things, still many people, millions of people do not own their own land. So how do you think that this issue, which is very important for liberation of people, can be resolved?
It's become very difficult now because now today, see, land is the only asset that is limited. Air is not limited, water is still somewhat unlimited, land is limited. And I see everywhere, even in Kerala, I see a continuous development of towns. I don't see villages anywhere. Even in Telangana, the land has been bought up for real estate. So, land being limited, it is going to be a resource which we're going to fight over a lot. So the forces confronting landless people now much more powerful than in my day. Now we'll have to fight with mafia. Mafia is controlling land sales. Chief ministers are controlling, directly they are controlling, in my state at least, the lands around Hyderabad which are very valuable, the chief minister controls. So it is very difficult in that.
And even the legal fights do not reach anywhere.
No, we don't know because we have not worked. See, land, the left only gave the slogan. It did not work concretely towards land distribution. The Maoists planted red flags and said, you take this land. Once the Maoists left,
it was
grabbed back again. The Ambedkar movement largely concentrated on education. They did not want land. Our people have been laborers for so long. Why do we want? We concentrate on education. We don't want land. So land has not been important. Land and how to work and use that land has not been an important issue for anybody. So there's a lot more work which needs to be done to see how. I do not think it is impossible at all. I don't think anything is impossible. Everything is possible. More work is involved. And if you raise a slogan, realize that the slogan is not a slogan, it should be something which is doable at the end of the day. We don't want slogans. People are fed up of slogans. You get it done. You get the patta to this person. You ensure that that person has got a patta and nobody will kick him out. That is what. So which means the legal process you fight till the end. It's not at all impossible. For me, without any knowledge of village or land, I was able to do it. So if there is a group of people who have experience, who have knowledge, support, why is it difficult? People are always willing to fight if you are willing to support.
Maybe the situation in different states must be very different, but if if we have a national movement solely focusing on landlessness
yeah.
and working in different states in different manner according to the situation, reality there, do you think that that could give it some kind of mobility or a kind of a solution for the issue?
A national slogan will not help, because it will mean there will be seminar in Delhi or seminar in Calicut, everybody will come, eat and go. That will not happen. Activists have to take it into their heart that we must do this, not through any national movement.
Can you tell me when actually you started pursuing Ambedkar very seriously and started reading?
When I went to Ibrahimpattanam.
Okay.
Because when I went to Ibrahimpattanam, I asked who are the poorest. They said Madigas. Madigas are the equivalent, I don't know what you have in, Madigas work with leather.
Okay.
So the equivalent in Kerala, whatever. So I said, yes, let us sit in the Madiga Basti. So then the people who are living in the village, always this, the Dalit hamlet will be a little outside the village. So the people in the main village said, why won't you sit in our village? I said, I have no problem. Then the Madiga said, if you have it there, we can't come. I said, why can't you come? They said, they will not allow us. So then I said, there's no choice, then you have to make a choice. Are you going to be with these people or with those people? So from that moment, I thought my caste is such an important issue that even where we have to work has to be decided right away. So from that moment, I was aware of caste, not that one didn't know about it, but of how important it is that you recognize caste and are not blind to it. So from then I started opening my eyes to caste. I would ask, will you eat in so-and-so's house? Will you give food to so-and-so? Everything I would interrogate after that.
Doesn't it mean that the caste and its values transcend, it's a mindset, Brahminical values is a mindset that transcends caste and the pollution and the values that Brahminical system follow is ingrained and instilled in every person's mind, including the downtrodden. And unlearning those practices is not an easy task, do you think so?
No, unlearning for the downtrodden is not difficult. It is not ingrained to the extent you think the downtrodden accept all this blindly. I don't think so. They don't accept it. They accept because they have no other go. They don't accept, something bad will happen to them. I don't think it is ingrained in them to the extent that it is ingrained in the Savarnas.
But the hierarchy, the kind of hierarchy system,
yes,
that is there in every community.
Yes, okay. There is a ladder. The Madigas at the bottom of it. On top of that will be the barbers. On top of that will be the washermen. Then will come the shepherds. Then will come the Vaishyas. That is true. But to topple the hierarchy ladder among the poorer people, among the what is called the lower caste, is much easier than breaking it in the Brahmin's head.
But everybody practice this purity, pollution practice.
Till it
values.
is, no, till it is pointed out, they may practice. But once it is pointed out, it is much easier to break it among. See, even in Ibrahimpattanam, the Malas would not eat with the Madigas. But once I raised this issue, it was very easily broken. I didn't find it hard to work within the so-called lower caste.
So what you suggest is it's very difficult to break among the upper class, but it's very easy to liberate the lower class people.
No, liberate is not the word I would use. Yes, the caste hierarchy is easier to break among the lower, so-called lower caste. Among the Savarnas, we don't even have a reach. Where the Savarnas are like surrounded by mainstream media, surrounded by mainstream practices, cinema. Where do we have a reach? We don't even have a reach. So that will take a longer time.
The fact remains that the history was unkind to Ambedkar. First silencing him, then celebrating him now. And do you think that Indian history after the independence would have been very different if Ambedkar ideas were given the sufficient priority and importance that it deserves?
No, it's, see, politics was different in that era. Ambedkar had no control over politics in that era. If you remember, he lost the elections and then he was invited to join the cabinet by Nehru on the suggestion of Gandhi. So he came rather on sufferance. So there was no basis for Dalit representation at that time in politics. What was given was as a form of generosity. So till the Dalit communities themselves organized, preserved Ambedkar's thoughts, writings. See, because all the publication was done by the small Dalit presses all over India. It was till the Mandal agitation that Ambedkar's importance was recognized. So the preservation of his ideas and discussions was only done by the Dalits, not by any. Maharashtra government also took up publication of volumes after so much struggle. So Mandal agitation is when Ambedkar's values, contribution was thing. So the question of whether India would have moved forward, the politics were not suited to that. It was totally Savarna dominated politics. There was no possibility.
And one more important question to you. When Ambedkar embraced modernity, modern values and its liberation, Gandhi was very critical about European modernity, right? And today when we look at the situation, we know that in terms of climate change and sustainability issues, Gandhi's perspective deserves more attention. So do you think that in our social work and activism, Gandhi's critique towards modernity should be brought out very seriously?
I think you can't separate one strand of Gandhi and say, I will support this and not look at anything else. Much of his thinking, while you say his critique of modernity was linked up with his reverence for the Shastras, reverence for the Brahmin, his upholding of the caste system, so many things were tied that if you want to separate each of the threads and take out, then I am fine with it. But if you want to say, let us discuss Gandhi's ideas on modernity without looking into the other, it is a cloth. If one thread is like this, another thread like this, without examining all the threads there, I would be very, very careful.
So once discussing Swaraj, what he meant by Swaraj, he clearly said that Swaraj is for everyone, everyone's Swaraj, or self-rule of everyone. So in that way, when you see, when you consider the brazen looting of natural resource and the sustainability of ecosystem, so don't you think that Swaraj, something controlled by the community and the individual, is very relevant today?
To say that it is his idea that we're supporting gives me great discomfort, because he was one person who was supported by the Birlas and the Marwadis, yes. And so just because someone gives a slogan and you think is relevant, no, I wouldn't go by that. Let's formulate our own slogans. We don't have to take refuge and hide behind Gandhi for everything. It's not necessary to do that. I know if you think it as a tactical move to quote Gandhi and get support, you're welcome to, but to each one his poison.
And because of dominance of Savarna values and power structure, power system, the marginalized communities or the subaltern groups of people in our country, they were pictured as, painted as people, vulnerable people, uneducated people, powerless people, voiceless people. But actually, their power, their knowledge, their skill, their labor was very important, had a very crucial role in the history of India and anywhere in the world. And on the other hand, people, marginalized people or the subaltern communities themselves feel that they are inferior and they are not able to understand the importance of their culture and their values. And don't you think that, and so that they try to go to the upper layer, and then they feel that become the so ingraining the Savarna values are more important, and discarding what practices they were doing all these years. So don't you think that a kind of dignity they should feel about themselves and their own living culture and how they are contributing for the world?
I think there's a strong move towards that. There's a strong move, for example, even Dasara celebrations. There was a lot of material out on why we should not be celebrating because it is the killing of our person. And Kancha Ilaya has been one of the stronger proponents of dignity of labor and of the history of experimentation that has taken place among the working communities. So there's a very strong movement among not just the scheduled caste but also the Shudras towards recognizing the dignity of their own history of labor. So I think there's a strong movement.
Coming to your publication, Hyderabad Book Trust has published over 400 titles, very remarkable titles, and among them you have given enough space for subaltern voices, and you started a Dalit magazine as well. So could you talk about that journey?
Yeah, we started that in 1998. See, 1985 was an important turning point for Andhra Pradesh because the Karamchedu massacre took place there. And that massacre shook the state, and Andhra Pradesh Dalit Mahasabha was formed, the first major Dalit organization. So after that, the necessity of having a Dalit magazine was felt, and this is how Hyderabad Book Trust, under the editorship of Bojja Tarakam, we ran Nalpu quite successfully for some 6 years. It was possible to do that. Widespread contributions. Many young writers came up because of Nalpu. So because we encourage readers to write, many reports came from elsewhere. So the magazine, but we could not sustain it. There was police repression, financial issues, because we were not taking advertisements. So how do you run an magazine only on subscription? You don't have financial backers. So there were so many problems that I think last issue, 1994, we closed with it. But the publications, see, magazine has a problem because there's a deadline. When you say it is a bi-weekly, you have to produce it. There is a deadline from the postal department, you have to post it at that time. Book publication is more leisured. There's no deadline in that way. So we were able to continue with book publication for so many years. Now it is 45 years over, and over 500 titles were published, not 400. We are staying afloat. We are not making any major profits, but we are not intending to be a profit-making publication, but we are afloat and we will survive. Magazine requires far more effort and I think sustained financial backing. It was the book trust which was supporting the magazine, but with so many losses every month, it's difficult.
One final question. We are living in times of rising authoritarianism and hate politics. So people who believe in democracy, secularism, what's the tool in their hands so that they can find a way forward according to you? Or maybe the tools that is not at experiment or not at used.
I think we should leave social media for a time. All of us who are secularists, we think we put a post on social media and work is done. Work is not done there. Work is done with people. Meet people, meet the person who is BJP, talk with that person, talk with your neighbor who is Hindutva, connect with people, because if we want to kill every Hindutva person in India, you know, the number of killings is not enough. So you have to work to connect, find out what it is that is turning them away from something and going towards hate politics, and work on that. So I think connecting with people is the most important thing. Leave social media and the work, and because most of this secular politics is being exhibited on social media, and dependence on, say, the Congress. There is a certain dependence on Congress. Rahul Gandhi will be the new secular icon. That's also very ridiculous. We have to do spade work. We have to be able to go to each hostel room. We have to be able to go to each factory, each neighborhood, house and the thing. Old-fashioned politics is the only way. Old-fashioned politics, we went around everywhere, Basti, house to house, villages, house to house we went. That is still the only way. We have to connect to people. And people don't turn towards Hindutva for no reason. They turn because you are not there. You are not there working with people, so work with people.
So thank you very much. It was a great pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.